A device occupies the left palm. Surface temperature 40.2 Celsius. Palm skin baseline 33.4 Celsius. Thermal differential 6.8 degrees. Contact zone 41 square centimeters. Infrared scan confirms heat transfer. Direction: device outward to tissue inward. Transfer rate: 0.5 degrees per minute tissue temperature rise. Continuous hold duration: 16 minutes 9 seconds. Thermoreceptor populations engaged. Warm sensitive endings elevated discharge frequency. Cold sensitive fibers inhibited. Adaptation state progressing. Initial contact sensation acute warmth registered. Sensation at minute 16 diminished to peripheral awareness. Palm surface temperature at contact area 38.7 Celsius. Thermal equilibrium incomplete. Device internal core 44.1 degrees Celsius due to sustained processor load. Ambient environmental temperature 21.8 degrees Celsius. Device lacks active thermal management. Passive conduction, sole heat dissipation pathway. Palm tissue functions as passive radiator. Microcirculatory response detected. Capillary bed dilation measured via thermography. Blood flow increase 27% above resting state. Tissue metabolic rate elevated locally. Palm accepts thermal load. Device temperature stable. Contact maintained. Device placement shifts. Transition palm to table surface. Table positioned 37 centimeters lateral to seated posture midline. Separation timestamp 13:52:19. Prior contact duration 16 minutes 9 seconds. Thermal flux terminated. Final palm temperature at separation moment 38.7 Celsius. Surrounding air 21.8 Celsius. Thermal gradient established 16.9 degrees tissue to environment. Thermoreceptor discharge activity persists beyond stimulus cessation. Warm receptors maintain firing rate elevation for 238 milliseconds post-contact. Cold receptors suppression lifts at 193 milliseconds. Afferent nerve traffic continues signaling heat presence despite mechanical contact absence confirmed by pressure receptors. Sensory channel conflict. Thermal input indicates warmth. Tactile input indicates void. Hand orientation. Palm upward. Fingers relaxed extension. Visual system confirms empty palm space. Proprioceptive system registers absence of mass load. Thermal system reports sustained warmth. Persistence window 238 milliseconds. At 238 millisecond mark, ambient air contact triggers cold receptor reactivation. Tissue cooling commences. Warm receptor activity, rapid decline initiated. Total reset to baseline thermal signaling, achieved by 418 milliseconds. Reach towards secondary object attempted during reset interval. Object, glass container. Expected surface temperature based on ambient, 22 Celsius. Actual contact perception, delayed thermal registration due to thermoreceptor recalibration in progress.
Thermal reset lag produces operational disruption. Trial sequence initiated. Device held 13 minutes. Removed at 14:07:42. Reset latency measured 241 milliseconds. Immediate post-removal action. Grasping ceramic mug. Mug surface temperature 71.6 Celsius. Thermal sensation expected. Intense heat. Observed sensation attenuated initially. Thermoreceptors still baseline adjusted to prior device temperature state. Heat perception delay 167 milliseconds beyond contact initiation. Safety concern identified. Hand contacts surface exceeding safe temperature threshold, while receptor array signals reduced threat level. Nociceptor activation delayed relative to standard pain reflex arc. Normal withdrawal reflex latency 112 milliseconds. Observed latency during reset window 284 milliseconds. Extension 172 milliseconds. Tissue exposure duration increased. Potential for thermal injury elevated during vulnerability window. Second trial executed. Device hold 11 minutes. Removal timestamp 14:23:11. Immediate reach toward metal stylus. Stylus temperature 7.9 Celsius. Thermoreceptor state adapted to warm device baseline. Cold object contact initially perceived as thermally neutral. Actual cold stimulus detection delayed 226 milliseconds. Motor response adjustment insufficient during delay. Grip calibration error. Stylus slips from grasp. Drop event confirmed. Daily reset event count 29. Individual event duration 240 milliseconds average. Cumulative daily thermal confusion interval 116 seconds. Task initiations coinciding with reset windows 9 per day. Task execution disruption rate 59% of coincident tasks affected.
The isolated variable, thermoreceptor signal decay latency. Mechanical contact absent. Thermal source removed. Neural discharge continues. Duration 240 milliseconds. This lag constitutes the measurement target. Warm receptor physiology, slow adaptation kinetics, time constant, exponential function, tau equals 91 milliseconds. Post-stimulus cessation, 3 time constants required for approach to spontaneous baseline. Calculation, 3 times 91 equals 273 milliseconds. Empirical measurement, 240 milliseconds average. Deviation, 33 milliseconds, attributed to individual receptor population variance and measurement precision limits. Cold receptor dynamics, faster recovery profile. During device contact, activity suppressed below baseline. Suppression release occurs at 193 milliseconds mean. Ambient air stimulation initiates cold channel activation. Warm channel deactivation, slower process. Temporal overlap, 47 milliseconds, where both receptor classes signal above rest simultaneously. Perceptual state, thermal ambiguity. Neither distinctly warm nor cold classification possible. Sensory interpretation, unstable. Tissue thermal inertia, not primary cause of perceived delay. Surface temperature monitoring via contact thermistor. Cooling rate 1.4 degrees per second upon air exposure initiation. Physical temperature change rapid relative to neural response. The lag resides in receptor membrane repolarization kinetics and synaptic transmission decay, not tissue thermal mass.
Device contact established. Duration 7 minutes. Surface temperature 41.4 degrees Celsius. Palm thermoreceptor array reaches adapted equilibrium state. Device removed. Placed upon desk surface. Reset interval 240 milliseconds. Concurrent task keyboard typing initiation. Contact with plastic keycaps occurs at 89 milliseconds into reset window. Thermal expectation, device warmth periover. Actual stimulus, room temperature plastic. Perceptual mismatch, keys register as unexpectedly cool due to contrast with thermal ghost. Typing cadence, disrupted. Initial keystroke sequence velocity, 37% below baseline rate. 12 seconds elapse. Thermoreceptors, complete reset cycle. Baseline thermal awareness restored. Device retrieval, different unit. Surface temperature, 37.8 degrees Celsius, 3.6 degrees cooler than prior device. Contact initiated. Palm heating recommences at 0.4 degrees per minute. Hold duration 6 minutes. Removal action executed. Reset window 240 milliseconds. Object interaction during reset. Water bottle. Temperature 18.1 degrees Celsius. Bottle grasp occurs at 141 milliseconds into reset interval. Thermoreceptor state. Residual device temperature reporting. Actual bottle temperature 23 degrees below device baseline. Thermal contrast perceived as exaggerated. Cold shock response. Withdrawal reflex triggered. Bottle release premature. Containment failure, partial. Liquid spillage, 61 milliliters lost to desk surface. Third interaction cycle. Device hold, 9 minutes. Temperature, 42.6 degrees Celsius. Removal completed. Reset lag, 243 milliseconds. No task initiated during vulnerability window. Hand position, stationary rest. Thermoreceptor decay, proceeds without motor interference. Baseline achievement, no associated task errors. Reset completes without consequence, beyond temporal delay.
Multi-day observation implemented. Day 1 metrics, device interactions 26, hold durations, range 4 to 17 minutes, removal events 26, reset occurrences 26, one-to-one correspondence, task initiated during reset windows 8, task disruption incidents 5, error taxonomy, keystroke timing deviation, grip force miscalibration, thermal startle response. Day 4 metrics, interactions 33, reset window task attempts 11, disruption count 7. Day 9, interactions 40, reset window tasks 14, disruptions 9, interaction frequency increases, error rate maintains proportional relationship. 57 to 64% of reset window tasks exhibit measurable performance decrement. The thermal ghosting emerges as stable state transition artifact. Thermoreceptor adaptation capacity does not improve via exposure. Reset latency day 1, 241 milliseconds mean. Reset latency day 9, 239 milliseconds mean. Difference 2 milliseconds within instrument error bounds. The 240 millisecond window, fixed physiological parameter. Neural adaptation constants immune to conditioning effects. Delay represents biological constraint rather than modifiable learned response. Motor prediction systems begin implementing compensatory strategy. Day 16 observation. Reach velocity during reset windows reduced by 21% relative to baseline. Deliberate deceleration, conscious intervention. Error rate decreases from 63% to 39%. Compensation efficacy confirmed. Cost, task completion time increased by 27%. Trade-off, accuracy gained through speed sacrifice.
Task sequence executed absent device involvement. Hand rests on wooden surface. Surface temperature 22.9 degrees Celsius. Palm temperature equilibrates to surface value over 11-minute interval. Thermoreceptor activity registers cool, stable contact. Adaptation complete. Neural baseline established for cool surface reference state. Hand elevates. Trajectory toward ceramic mug containing heated liquid. Mug exterior temperature 69.3 degrees Celsius. Contact initiation. Thermoreceptor response immediate activation. Warm receptors onset latency 39 milliseconds. Thermal sensation heat accurately perceived within standard detection window. Grip force modulated based on prompt thermal feedback. Hold duration appropriate for elevated temperature object handling. Motor execution absent error. Grip integrity maintained. Spillage 0. Task completion efficient. Secondary object interaction. Metal pen at ambient temperature 21.7 degrees Celsius. Hand contact established. Cold receptors activation latency 47 milliseconds. Thermal sensation mild cool, veridically registered. Grip formation executed without hesitation. Writing task initiated. Pen manipulation precise control maintained. Thermal perception non-interfering with motor program. Execution baseline performance parameters met. Tertiary object. Cardboard folder. Temperature 23.1 degrees Celsius. Thermal neutral zone relative to ambient. Thermoreceptor modulation minimal deviation from rest state. Object handling thermal awareness subordinate to tactile and proprioceptive channels. Task folder positioning and opening. Completion immediate. 0 delay, 0 error detected. Device contact absent from this sequence. Heat source exposure, none. Thermoreceptors respond to veridical stimuli within nominal latency specifications. Phantom persistence absent. Reset delays not applicable. Motor control uncompromised. Baseline sensory motor function preserved throughout task battery. "90-day observation window. Device interaction count. Day 1, 25. Day 30, 47. Day 90, 66. Escalation, 164%. Per interaction hold duration. Day 1, 6.8 minutes mean. Day 90, 10.3 minutes mean. Daily cumulative contact time. Day 1, 2.8 hours. Day 90, 11.3 hours. Thermal exposure load, quadrupled. Reset event frequency. Day 1, 25. Day 90, 66. Tasks attempted during 240 millisecond reset windows. Day 1, 7. Day 90, 18. Daily aggregate reset confusion duration. Day 1, 6.0 seconds. Day 90, 15.8 seconds. Task error tally. Day 1, 4. Day 90, 11. Error rate per reset concurrent task. Stable at 58 to 61% across observation span. Device surface temperature progression. Day 1, average, 39.1 Celsius. Day 90, average, 43.2 Celsius. Higher sustained operational temperature produces intensified thermal adaptation. Thermoreceptor baseline shift, more pronounced. Reset lag duration, unchanged, but phantom warmth subjective intensity, amplified. Contrast between ghost sensation and ambient air, increased by 4.1 degrees. Multi-device usage pattern develops. 2 devices alternated. Device A, 42 Celsius surface. Device B, 37 Celsius surface. Rapid device switching occurs within single reset window. Device A removed. Reset lag, 240 milliseconds. Device B acquisition, at 170 milliseconds into lag. Thermoreceptor state, reporting device A thermal baseline. Actual input, device B, 5 degrees lower. Perception, thermal mismatch. Device B sensation, cooler than objective measurement. Grip force, incorrectly calibrated. Motor errors accumulate across switching episodes. Day 90, switch events, 21 per day. Switch intervals, 38% occur within reset window. Thermal confusion events, 8.0 per day. Motor disruption incidents, 4.9 per day. Cumulative task efficiency, degraded by recurring thermal state uncertainty. Hand initiates reach toward resting device. Finger extension begins approach vector. Motion halts prior to contact. The reach terminates incomplete. Vocalization onset detected. Wah. Phoneme production arrested. Brief acoustic echo registered. Word formation does not complete. Background environmental tone sustains at low frequency. Constant amplitude maintained across interval. Tone cessation occurs without gradual decay. A brief silence follows. Thermoreceptor activity logs document cyclical adaptation pattern. Device contact, high frequency. Removal, high frequency. Reset lag, 240 milliseconds per event. Daily event count, 66. Thermal perception accuracy, limited to intervals outside reset windows. Tasks executed during resets, subject to disruption. Disruption frequency scales proportional with interaction rate. Reset temporal window, physiologically fixed. Device operational temperature rises with usage intensity. Thermal contrast magnitude amplifies. Confusion perceptual intensity increases, while temporal signature remains invariant. The pattern recurs with each device contact and subsequent separation.